This lecture is going to talk about mixtures. A mixture is a physical blend of two or more substances. So these may be blended well or may be blended poorly. We're going to look at the heterogeneous and homogeneous mixtures in a few slides. A solution is any homogeneous mixture. So salt in water is going to be a solution because it has the salt evenly distributed throughout the water. A phase is part of a heterogeneous mixture. So the example in the book, and probably a very good example, is your oil and vinegar. So the oil is one phase and the vinegar is another phase. Filtration is the process of removing solids from a liquid. So if we had coffee grounds in water, we use a coffee filter to remove the coffee grounds, which are solid, from the coffee, which is liquid. Distillation separates two types of liquid that are dissolved in one another by the boiling point. The one with the lower boiling point will boil off first and can be condensed into another vial. Be able to differentiate between pure and mixed substances. You'll have a homework on this. Identify methods of separation for mixtures. We're doing that in class. And relate properties of matter to separations of mixtures. So how can the separation depend on the property? Classifying mixtures. A homogeneous mixture is uniform throughout. So coffee, so long as that coffee doesn't have weird things dissolved in it, like normal black coffee, it's a homogeneous mixture. Soda is a normal homogeneous mixture unless it has weird things dissolved in it. A heterogeneous mixture is not uniform. Chicken soup is a heterogeneous mixture because it has chunks of chicken, carrot, and noodles. Fruit bread is a heterogeneous mixture because it has fruit, walnuts stuck in it. That is heterogeneous. The phase is a part of the sample that is uniform. So homogeneous mixtures have one phase, heterogeneous mixtures have more than one phase. The properties of matter will help us separate things. So if we consider the intrinsic and extrinsic properties of matter, that will help us to separate two or more things. For example, if we wanted to separate iron filings from hay, then we could just use a very strong magnet because one of the intrinsic properties of iron is that it is magnetic and will be attracted to the magnet, whereas an intrinsic property of hay is that it is not magnetic. We could also use something like a sieve to filter things, or solubility to have things dissolve in oil or dissolve in water. The melting and freezing points can be used to separate a couple of things. If I were to put copper, if you find copper ore, you can heat it up hot enough to melt the copper but not melt the stones. That is going to be something depending on the melting point. Similar with a boiling or condensing point. That is the process of distillation, where you can take, say, a solution of alcohol and water and you can actually distill it to make a higher concentration of alcohol in the distillate. Density means you can decant or basically pour off a top layer, or that something may form a precipitate. If something is dense enough to become a solid, it will basically come out of a solution and end up on the bottom of a test tube. Magnetism and flammability are, of course, kind of rough ways of separating things based on their intrinsic properties of being magnetic or being flammable.